Hey everyone, just wanted to do a quick little intro to this. We filmed this a long time ago. It was actually just before the release of Force Awakens. It's still okay for us to put it out because we're not really discussing much of Force Awakens at all, but there will be a couple times where things come up. And if you didn't know that we had not seen the movie yet, it wasn't out yet, you would have been like, what are these idiots talking about? So just been busy, lots of videos, just couldn't get this one up in time. It's my fault, but I just want to let you know with that context, this was filmed just before the release of Force Awakens. All right, thanks guys, and enjoy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Holocron, our Star Wars podcast over here on Zero HP. I know it's been kind of a long time. It's been maybe about a month or so, and our first video we broke down the full-length Star Wars trailer that came out. So today I thought would be kind of a special episode. We've got more than just me and Ian here. Ian's here as well, my co-pilot and co-captain, exactly. And then we also have exactly, and we also have a special guest joining us today. We also have Kevin.
Hello, I'm the Astro Droid.
He is the astromech droid. Yeah. So that'll be cool. We have Kevin joining us today, and we have lots to talk about. So let's go ahead and get on to our topic. So basically, the whole idea for this episode is I wanted to have a couple questions, and we'll go around and have like a roundtable discussion. Because I want all you guys out there to get to know us as Star Wars fans, so that way maybe you can get a little bit more insight into what our opinions are, what our thoughts are on the movies. And I've just kind of come up with like 3 or so simple questions that we'll go around and answer to ourselves, and that way you can get to know us as Star Wars fans. And then maybe at the end, if there's questions we haven't thought about answering or just didn't bring up, we'll go ahead and bring them up at the end. But the first one we'll go ahead and start out with is kind of just a simple question, is what is your favorite Star Wars movie out of all 6? So first of all, to start us off, Ian, why don't you let us in on that?
That's hard for me. I have a hard time between 5 and 6. I'm going to go Empire Strikes Back.
Awesome.
I know that's like the most
It's
common answer. Like pretty much anyone you ever talk to is Empire Strikes Back. It's almost like they just say it that because that's the main opinion.
Yeah.
But truly, I feel like apart from it being, I love all 6 Star Wars movies, prequels included. I have my issues with the prequels, a lot of them, but I still love them. Mm-hmm. I love them as a mother loves their drug-addicted failure of a child.
Yes.
I still love them, even though I have issues. But I just feel like barring love for Star Wars, I just feel like Empire Strikes Back is like the best film.
It's the most well-made one, definitely.
You know what I mean? Like just from everything from script to acting to direction, plot line, like all of it just like gelled the most. And like, the only thing that separates the two for me, like the reason I say Empire over Return of the Jedi, and this is stupid, and like no one probably shares this opinion.
I feel like I know what you're gonna say, but go on.
Ewoks can't throw a rock at a stormtrooper's helmet and render him unconscious. And I think everyone's heard about that kind of theory. Like it was supposed to be Wookiees. Mm-hmm. And that makes a shit ton of sense to me.
Like, that would have been a lot more bad.
That is like I can see a band of rebel commandos, because those are like special forces guys,
right,
on the moon of Endor, and fucking army of Wookiees could definitely pony up to the Empire. Yeah. But like that's the only problem I have with the originals in general, is that the Empire is supposed to be portrayed as a super huge like military machine, and the stormtroopers can't hit anything. They die really easily, and TIE fighters just run into their own guys and run into every wall out there. Like, so that's just the only thing. So is like,
why didn't they use Wookiees? Why did they decide Ewoks instead?
They needed something that was less dramatic, and they needed more like light moments, because there's a lot of heavy moments, like dramatic.
That's true.
Because my favorite scene of all 6 movies is the ending scene with Vader, Luke, and that to me is like the penultimate scene. It's one of the classic like Hollywood scenes of movies. You know, that moment where you see Vader looking back and forth between, Luke being electrocuted and he just you just know what's gonna happen, and he picks him up, and he throws him down, and like the score during that moment when Luke is just hammering down on, that's like it's just like my favorite scene. But then he goes back and you're like, beep-a-doo, 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 and like,
Yeah.
and they throw little spears, and like it hits, like glances off the stormtrooper's shoulder, and he's like, oh, and he dies, and I'm like, this, it's just like,
Ow!
it just takes you out of the, or like the two little, like the little wooden logs hitting on the sides of this titanium alloy, ATST, just
like,
that scene.
lasers
Always,
can't penetrate that.
I just
armor.
like, this is like, it just ruins the immersion for me a little bit. But so that's why I'm going Empire, because it doesn't have any caveats like that to me.
That's awesome.
Like it's just my favorite film. I love them all though, and yeah, so that's my favorite. You know, I Am Your Father, Battle of Hoth. I mean, you just can't go wrong. You meet Yoda for the first time,
The
and like
whole
that.
anything on Bespin was really cool to see too.
Oh, the whole scene with Bespin, and like it's the only time the Imperials are ever like even halfway formidable, or competent. You know being attacked in the when they fly into the asteroid, into the space worm. I don't know the name of that creature. Do you know the name of that creature? Anyway, just like every single scene, it's just like the pacing is perfect. The script was great. The love story that we get between Leia is not cheesy bullshit that's like awkward and weird. You know what I mean? Like it's just this kind of like, it's believable. I believe that Leia and Han are falling in love. Like I believe it, and just I love you. I know. I mean, it's just like there's so many moments from that film that are so like core to everyone's memories of Star Wars. And so that's why it's my favorite.
It's awesome. You know what you were saying too is like it is a very like stereotypical answer. I feel like to be like Empire Strikes Back, but that's almost a testament to how good it really is.
Yeah, like, George stepped away a little bit because I feel like everyone gets on George for ruining prequels and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly think that him writing those scripts hurt it a lot.
Yeah.
They were not as good as the original films. But he was there to oversee his vision, with his brilliant vision, and he hired his old teacher to direct the film. And you know what I mean? It was perfect. Like, Lucas got his say. It was his story, his plot. But it was someone else when you have that, like, kind of marriage of two people's, to kind of keep each other in check.
Yeah.
And it was the script was written by Kasdan. Who wrote the script for Empire?
For Empire, Kasdan.
Yeah. So you have these three different. It was just perfect. It was a perfect marriage, and it's one of my favorite just movies of all time. Let alone like Star Wars.
Easily.
So yeah. Boba Fett. You meet Boba Fett, and we don't have to watch him accidentally die. Again, there's Lucas killing off interesting enigmatic bad guy characters, but in that film, you first meet him. You have more lines. What does he say? Like this. Oh, there's just so many like moments from that film.
Yeah.
So
I have altered the deal. Pray I do not alter it.
Oh, they're exactly like this is all the moments.
Not Boba Fett.
We
but
meet
I love
Lando.
That line.
We meet Lando.
Lando Calrissian.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I love
Colt
Lando.
45.
Yeah. I love Lando. Lando was such a smooth motherfucker, man.
He was.
He was such a cool dude, and I like that too about how like he's just so like different from the main characters and different from like the regular cast of characters that you had. Like you had like the smuggler and Han. He's like kind of a dirty bandit and everything, and then you had like the Princess Leia. Then you had like this Jedi warrior, but then you had like Lando. He's like this leader of this like Cloud City, which is like super cool.
This mining facility.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? Cloud City's so awesome.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's just so original,
Yeah, I was like, it was very, very well made. I like that whole scene too when then Lando betrays them and all that stuff. That was a very interesting sequence of events there. But yeah, for my film, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. I'm gonna have to say my film is I love Attack of the Clones. I love Attack of the Clones, and the reason why is I may be a sucker for this, but I love huge, big battles. Like I love big fucking battles, and I like Two Towers for that same reason. Return of the King, all that stuff, and I like the second episode. For me personally, the reason I like it so much is because of that scene where the Jedi show up to the stadium, where Anakin and Padme are being held like as entertainment.
Yeah.
And then
it's like a gladiator.
Yeah, like a gladiator. Coliseum, and then what happens is like there's 100 Jedi show up. They're like all over the stadium, and they're all like throwing their lightsaber around. They're like quote unquote protectors of justice or whatever it is. And like up to this point, you've seen Obi-Wan and you've seen Qui-Gon fight Darth Maul, and you think they're like, oh man, these guys are badasses. Like they're fucking awesome. But then in the scene, this specific scene where like the droids are like fighting with the aliens. I don't remember what their race is.
Geonosians.
The Geonosians. Yeah, the Geonosians are like they're fighting the Jedi's, and like they start off with like 100 guys, and then they slowly get like pushed into like the center of the arena, and there's only like a couple dozen
defeated
left.
by like sheer numbers.
Yeah, by sheer numbers, and you're like,
everywhere.
These guys aren't invincible, like you know, and they're like they can be killed by droids, and that's where like that like the tide changes for me, and I like the darker of the sequels, and like I like the contrast where like this is gonna turn dark, and you can tell the Jedi's were not prepared for this, and they were overconfident. That's what I think. The Jedi's were overconfident, thinking they can go in here and just stop this and not lose anybody, you know.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing was you get to see Mace Windu with his purple lightsaber. I was like, that is so badass. I was like, never seen a purple lightsaber before. And and you like so at the end of the scene they're like surrounded by all the droids and stuff, and then you thought all hope is lost, and then you see these freaking like drop ships come out of the skies, and they're like it's lasers coming out.
They come in, and you see immediately the first time you see that film. Yeah. When you see the clone troopers, you immediately understand what's going to happen. Stormtroopers!
Oh crap!
That's where stormtroopers come from.
That's the exact realization. Yeah, the realization. I was like, oh my god,
this is the Empire. And
exactly. That's what
that's
like
a
the realization.
Moment.
And I felt like that was so good, and that was the instant that I connected all of it together. And that's where I was like, oh my god. So that's what for me.
That's a good reason. Like,
I was like,
it's a surprising answer. Like, I really respect that. You know, I think it's really cool that you say that.
Yeah,
like,
for me, that was the just baddest moment ever. I was just like, oh my god.
Episode 2 has a lot of like really cool parts about it.
Yeah.
I think honestly, and I love all the Star Wars movies. It's like picking favorites and literally picking between children for me.
Yeah.
But like, I think Episode 2 is like my least favorite one, definitely.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's so many redeeming qualities about it. Like, you know, say what you will about the scene with Anakin and he goes to slaughter the Sand People.
Yeah.
But I thought that had that part been written better, maybe with a better script.
I like the one section of it. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
The part where his mom dies is just ridiculous. Annie,
See,
like that bad. Like it was that. It was like, oh, you're a terrible actress.
I was like, is that part acting though? Is that like, how can you blame like?
Well,
the overall
it's mostly
it's just bad acting. Like it's awkward. Like it's just
no one. Awkward.
And then, I love that part where when that music,
it turns
and his
dark.
eyes come right up to the camera like that, and he like you can just see like the rage. I'm like, oh, okay, this is good.
Yeah,
like, I wanted more of that.
Yeah,
like seeing Anakin.
I think.
Filled with this like violent rage, and it comes out and like,
see,
that part of the scene.
That's another connector. See, that's another realization for me. I'm like, oh man, I know what's going on now. I was like, he's gonna be Vader. I'm like, oh man, he's gonna turn dark, and that's kind of foreshadowing the things to happen. And I think that's why I partially like that too, because that almost that whole movie is kind of like that. It kind of built it up to that point. I mean, and there's tons of things wrong with it, like acting, dialogue,
really
all that stuff.
For me, it's just the script. I think there's a lot right with it. It's just the problem is the weight of how horrible the script is. It just takes everything. It like makes it like a dark shadow on the film that should be incredible. Right. And there's just too many like moments where you're just like, God. Like,
I think the best, honestly, the best part about Episode 2 for me are all the action scenes. Right? Like,
the action scenes are great.
I love the battle with Yoda against Dooku. I thought that was a great fight. Yeah. I love the part where it's Obi-Wan and Anakin versus Dooku on that same part. And like you said, the stadium on Geonosis is an amazing scene.
Yeah.
Just like you really get to see the Jedi in action finally in like...
seeing where Boba Fett comes from.
Yeah, Boba Fett.
Jango's a good character. I think it should have been in it more.
Yeah, Jango Fett was great. And then Episode 2 also has my favorite sound effect in all of Star Wars.
Which one is that?
The bombs from the Slave One.
The sound like the sound bombs.
Yeah.
I love that scene too. That scene was awesome.
Fucking little Boba.
yeah. He's an evil little bastard.
Sadistic little
I know. Oh my god, damn.
Get him, Dad.
That reminds me of that scene where they're on Amino too, like or Camino.
Yeah.
The Camino, like that rain scene where Obi-Wan and Jango fight it out.
Oh yeah.
That was a good that was a good scene too.
It was a different kind of combat. It was like hand to hand, like wrestling.
It was. It wasn't like. It felt really awkward, but it was like choreographed. But it felt like just So
That's
that,
cool.
like you said, all the action scenes were great and fantastic, and I think that's what I liked about it the most. Is like a lot of it was just like, oh man, this is so action packed. I love it. Star Wars fans are just gonna tear me apart for saying that, but I
No,
love
I'm
it.
not. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan. I hate Episode 2,
Yeah.
and I completely respect your opinion.
Yeah,
like,
I
I understand what you love about it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
completely.
Yeah, I'm not admitting, or I am admitting that there is some bad writing and dialogue and acting in it, but
Really cheesy.
outside,
stuff.
really cheesy stuff. Exactly, really cheesy stuff.
And the main thing is that whole prequel trilogy
yeah,
puts all of its weight and all of it puts all the chips in the love story of Padme and Anakin,
Yeah.
and I don't buy their love story.
yeah, it's very.
That's
yeah.
by far the worst part of episode 2. Is
Yeah.
all the love scenes.
You can do a love story. You just got to do it right, and it's
Yeah.
hard. A love story is like a really tough thing to write and
Yeah.
not come across as deeply
Yeah.
love you.
I
Like you're just like, oh, it's the whole time. Like,
think it's
fuck.
also partially that Anakin is such like this angsty teen.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
really hard to portray that as an
It is.
actor, you
Because
know,
it
like
makes sense,
yeah,
but it just
It's-
not fair.
yeah, it's
You
very
know?
awkward.
I have to learn to stop people from dying.
Yeah.
Just like people just don't speak that way. you
yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with the story. Again, it's
Yeah.
kind of like what game were we? Halo. We were talking about Halo.
that's
The story, there's good ideas here.
Yeah.
It's just the execution
Exactly,
falls
yeah.
on its face.
yeah. So what about you, Taylor? What is your favorite?
Yeah, your favorite Star Wars movies.
So my favorite Star Wars movie of all time is actually Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
Oh, God,
And,
I love it so much.
Pretty much for the reasons you stated, Ian. I mean, that whole the last hour, well, not maybe hour, but like 45 minutes of that movie are key to that. I mean,
It's just amazing.
and even not even the ending, I like the beginning too, where we finally see Luke. He's come into his own as a Jedi, and you know he's walking in and he's got the black cloak on when they're at Jabba's
Yeah,
palace,
he's a
and,
badass. In
and he
this movie.
chokes out the Gamorrean guard.
Yeah.
That's not a Jedi thing to do,
No.
but he still is like a badass.
Yeah.
And
He's that progression from 4, 5 to 6, and like
Yeah.
6 is your
He's
reward
had
for
an arc.
sticking with annoying Luke.
yeah, it's an
Like-
arc, like definitely, and so many cool scenes where I finally like green is my favorite lightsaber color
Me
just
too.
because of Luke's lightsaber.
Yeah.
And I just feel like in terms of like emotional, hard hitting parts, Empire has a lot of that too. But I feel like definitely the last battle on the second Death Star with the Emperor, Luke, and Vader is probably my favorite part in all of Star Wars.
Agreed.
Really.
We're right
Is
on the
that-
same page there.
Is that fight and you know
Give
oh
it to the dark side.
Remember,
I'm sure the Death Star will be quite operational.
That's right. We have Kevin and I have a friend. His name is Arthur.
Oh
And-
God, yeah.
Just randomly, like we'd just be hanging out, and it just with no reason, he'll just go, "So you have a sister?"
Oh, yeah.
he'll just say that. If you bring up like you'd bring up your sister,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna go hang out with my sister later. So you have a sister? Twin sister?
I was actually, you know what's funny? I was just about to bring up that part too, and how awesome that is when they're under the deck and it's all dark,
Dark.
and Luke is
Oh,
kind of
Just
just
the
hiding.
light of his red saber.
They're the monitors and stuff,
Yeah.
and he just said, "If you will not join, maybe your sister."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that part is so good.
I just like that part when we already referenced it, but just that part when Emperor is goading him to use his anger,
Yeah.
and he's got Vader beaten, and he's just slamming down. He just hates him so much, you know. And then he later composes himself and throws that lightsaber to the
Oh,
side,
yeah.
and you know,
I'm a
renounces the dark
Jedi
side.
like my father before me. Oh,
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful scene.
it's so good, and and just it's really cool too when he's slamming down on Vader and he chops his arm off, and then Vader has that like.
Oh yeah, that weird
his
breathing. Yeah.
his weird breathing.
Mhm.
Yeah, you could tell he's just been defeated, and it's like, oh, it's
That,
so
like,
good.
that hazy, like
Yeah, it's nice and wheezy. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's awesome. And then you'd be remiss too if you didn't bring up the part 2 where after the battle when finally Vader is redeemed in that movie.
Oh my god!
And it's like remove my helmet so I can see you with my own eyes, not as this monster that I've become, but as Anakin, as your father, you know. And that part's super emotional too. And you know, he takes off his helmet, and you see like the wear and tear of like years of just living with like basically being burned by a volcano
Yeah.
and
on fire.
living in this hellish like metal
Yeah.
suit for like
pinches and grabs him and stuff. and
decades,
hates him.
man. Yeah.
So what do you guys think about like the whole prophecy? Did he
Yeah,
Did
I
he
would just,
technically
you beat
fulfill
me to
that?
it.
Did
Yes.
he technically fulfill it?
That's my favorite thing about the prequels is that connection, because they're like when Yoda's like prophecy misread perhaps in episode 3.
Yeah.
And it's like I always say no.
Yeah.
It just takes a little detour.
Yeah.
All the Jedi have to die first.
Yeah.
And then but he does. Anakin is the chosen one, and he kills himself and the Emperor,
and he brings balance back to the Force.
He does kill the Sith. He just joined him first.
Yeah.
I love that connection because you think, Luke is the chosen one.
Yeah, you're like,
he's not.
Yeah,
he's not. It is Anakin after all of that.
Yep.
We just had to take the scenic route.
And it's almost like a life lesson. Like you have to. I think George Lucas was like you're gonna experience some dark times in your life, you know, before you experience the good, you know. So I kind of like that message too.
And like anyone can be redeemed.
Yeah, anybody can be redeemed. Exactly.
Yeah, even if you kill children.
30 children. No, a lot more than that. That's Vader. I mean, he was like glassing planets with Star Destroyer fleets. Like he set fire to Kashyyyk and like enslaved the entire Wookiee race. He's a horrible, horrible motherfucker.
Very bad. Yeah, I'm glad that we are talking about this because it brings back a lot of memories now. I'm really pumped for the new the new Star Wars now. Did you have a second question for us?
Yeah,
today?
second question.
So we went and get our favorite movies. So now we'll go ahead and move on to my second question, which is who is your favorite character in all the Star Wars universe? So we'll go around and we'll ask who our favorite character is, and then
I think everyone's gonna have the same answer for this. Oh no, no.
I know his, and it's different than mine.
So we'll just go around and we'll say our favorite characters, and then give a little description on.
So each go around and then do a description, or just like say.
No, we'll just do the favorite character.
Same thing we did last.
All in one, yeah. So Ian, we'll start off with you again.
So even though I have a lot of problems with the prequels, and the originals are definitely my favorite. Like I'm obsessed with the originals. My favorite character. And a lot of this has to do with the extended universe, is Darth Maul.
Okay.
Damn it! He took my trash! He took my trash!
Well, Darth Maul is like... he's actually my biggest problem with the prequels.
Yeah.
Is that George Lucas missed out on an opportunity to really kind of... You need the one thing that, for me, needed to be connected, needed to be parallel with the two trilogies, is that one great thing about the originals is you have the same bad guy through 3 films.
Yeah.
Vader, it changes with everyone else. You see different parts of Vader through each film. And you get to know him just as well as the good guys. And he's a villain. And everyone hates Vader. Like you like Vader, he's cool. But like he's the bad guy. You want Luke to beat him. You know, like that's the whole point, is like this epic fight. They fight multiple times, and they have a relationship that grows. He's his father. It's this wonderful arc. And I feel like Maul needed to be that character for the original trilogy.
I agree, yeah.
You can't have killed him. He should have killed Qui-Gon, and I think he should have like force pushed Obi-Wan down that thing, and somehow he survives, much like Luke survived. Yeah. And have it like be like, wow, oh my God, like this guy is
a badass.
Him and Sidious are the bad guys. Yeah. And then in episode 3, Anakin and Obi-Wan team up and they kill Darth Maul, finally. After all the problems he's created for them, after all the people he's killed in their lives. And we could get to know him more, because if you went, I've read the book. I can't remember the author. There was 2 authors that wrote this book, and I don't know if it's canon or not anymore. But
it's probably not.
It's prequel. It's all about him starting, on Dathomir as a young boy, picked. He's like picked as by Sidious.
Okay.
She the in Clone Wars. I can't remember her name. The mother.
Talzin.
Talzin. Thank you.
Oh, Talzin. Yeah.
She actually gives him to Sidious.
Yeah.
So he doesn't become a Night Brother, who are like kind of like bitches to the Night Sisters.
Yeah.
They're like their playthings, and they're like they kill them, and horrible lives. And she actually thought being raised as a Sith Lord with Sidious was better.
Yeah.
And like his story is incredible.
Was this a comic or a novel?
This is a novel.
Okay.
Now this part wasn't the novel. The novel covered his training. What Sidious did to him, to create him. The tattoos come from the Dathomir and the Night Sisters and all that.
Yeah,
he already had those.
So what I was gonna say was like all of that sounds like it's canon, because that happened in the Clone Wars, which is canon. But all the other stuff about training, I don't know.
The training, and then he like his final test was he needed to go and kill this like gang, something of the Sun. It's been years since I've read this.
Black Sun.
Black Sun. He killed them all. Like he destroyed the whole gang in like an evening.
Yeah.
And he was like unleashed. And I just feel like everyone, I don't know a single person who was like, I don't know why they killed Darth Maul. And it was like a really stupid way he died. Kind of like Boba Fett's death.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
you kind of think like, why? Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to see this guy, you know, and I wanted it, and he just is such a brilliant character. And we didn't get to know anything about him. Like, his story is so incredible. I don't just like him because he's cool.
Yeah.
He's got an absolutely, in fact, it's a theme throughout all of Star Wars. Like, a lot of the bad guys are actually like really sympathetic stories.
Oh yeah.
Really
Definitely.
sad stories, and just people at the wrong place at the wrong time, just being treated like shit.
Right.
You know, and then he was just manipulated and used and tossed away. And like I love his story.
Came back though with a vengeance in the
He
Clone
did,
Wars.
and it was done so well. Like someone who felt the same way about Darth Maul as I feel about Darth Maul got their story. And it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this will ever come into play, but he is still alive.
He is still alive.
In canon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
He is still out there.
His story at the end of the Clone Wars never really got wrapped up.
No,
so
him and his mother Talzin tried to fight Sidious, and they couldn't quite beat him. And then he ran off. She sacrificed herself to let him get escape, and that's the last we ever see of him.
No, well, the last we ever saw of him was him and his brother Savage were battling the Emperor, and the Emperor kills Savage.
Yeah.
And then Maul's kind of left there like begging for his life. He's like, please don't kill me. And the Emperor's like, no, I have something else in mind for you, or something like that.
That was the last time.
And that is the last time.
I wonder now, if he has like him.
You think he'll come out in like the new movies or something, or like or a game? That game, I want them to make.
I'm sure they will cover the rest of his story in some kind of novel or a video game. My bet's on the video game.
Yeah, but he's my favorite character, and I think he's also the biggest missed opportunity in all of Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, one thing, too, before we split it off, I wanted to ask, what is your opinion of Savage Opress, like, as a character?
I liked him a lot. I liked the pair of them, you know, because he wasn't as...
He's more of a brute.
He needed Maul, because Maul is, like, everything. We didn't know this about Maul, because we didn't get to ever meet him before he died, or was defeated. But, like, you know, we find out that Maul is, like, a calculating, manipulative, like, very intelligent.
Very intelligent,
really intelligent, and resourceful, and whereas, Savage is, like, he was with the Night Sisters a lot longer.
Yeah.
And so you could tell he was just more like prone to just start a fight. You know,
he wasn't really
Small is like looking for an opportunity.
He wasn't trained by a proper like.
He wasn't trained by one of the most powerful Sith Lords in the history of all Star Wars. Like you know, so you know, and that's the thing. So who knows how powerful Maul could have become, because he was still like kind of like a Padawan, really.
Yeah.
At that point, so like, but I just feel like. And I say it all the time. It just makes me depressed thinking about it. Like what could have been with such a iconic character. They throw him. They know how amazing he is. They throw him on the front of every cover that they make to Episode 1, like those steel books I just got.
Oh yeah.
He's on the front. Like everyone loves him, and like, I feel like everyone's kind of betrayed by what happened to him.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what happens with him. But we'll
so
go ahead and move on, Kevin. So
you had Maul. I'm sorry to take that, man.
No, it's alright. I'll choose another one. I think the second choice would be Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan is wonderful. Oh God, hell yeah.
Obi-Wan's so crucial to the story. He molds in an inadvertent way. He molds Anakin in ways that he did not want to by actions that he's taken. And Anakin's kind of, he starts getting that disrespect for like other Jedis kind of through Obi-Wan getting his because Obi-Wan also, although he is part of the Jedi Council or whatnot, and he's still like a rebel in a sense, you know. So I think Anakin starts taking upon traits that Obi-Wan has kind of passed down to him, and almost to the second level, like I hate Jedis kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like Obi-Wan needed to be more of like a actual master than his buddy for Anakin, and like he molded Anakin as like, hey, I'm your friend, you can always talk to me. I'm not your teacher, I'm your friend. And I think if say Qui-Gon switched places with Obi-Wan, I think the stories, the whole arc of everything would be so different.
Absolutely.
Because like Qui-Gon is more of the strict teacher, wise person, whereas Obi-Wan was like, he was still young, best friend, young kind of in a sense. And so he would always in the Clone Wars animated series, they were just like kind of buddies. They were like always buddies and stuff. And I feel like he
was a good friend.
Yeah, I feel like he just, I don't know.
You were my brother.
You were my brother. But no, yeah, I feel like he kind of molded the story more than any other character. I mean, outside of Vader, of course, and Sidious. But like he had a huge impact on Vader.
I think I think that him and Maul. If I were to say Maul wasn't the biggest missed opportunity, I feel like Obi-Wan should have been more of a central main character than Anakin even.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I feel like everyone identified with him, and you could not have a better casting than Ewan McGregor for him.
Yeah, fantastic.
I wish he was actually more central to the story than Padme and Anakin.
You know? Yeah, because like I mean, if you look back on it, anything and everything Anakin did was something that Obi-Wan did. You know, like Obi-Wan would run off and do missions by himself, and then Anakin's like, well, if you're doing missions by yourself, I want to do missions by myself. You know, it's like so he kind of like learned those bad habits from Obi-Wan. So like in an inadvertent way, he's kind of made those bad choices because of Obi-Wan. So I think Obi-Wan helped mold the universe in an inadvertent way. So
that's a great choice.
That is, I would honestly say
love Obi-Wan
Kenobi. For my choice for my character, I would probably put him as a second. But
I love him. Alec Guinness as him too.
Oh yeah, Alec Guinness was
such a classic, character, and he was great in that film. Like, just more classic lines, but he, you liked him a lot. He was just kind of this different, and just a very quick, funny little story that I don't know if it's canon. How this works now, but the reason that like everyone thinks he's crazy in Episode 4. In Episode 3, when Yoda tells him he learned how to communicate with Qui-Gon, with the Force Ghost, like only he can see him. And so, like, anytime anyone saw Obi-Wan, he'd be, like, walking around talking to Qui-Gon, like, having conversations. Like, what a kooky, old fucking man. Like, and he earned this reputation for being, like, a weird hermit who talks to himself and talks to this guy named Qui-Gon.
Makes sense.
I don't remember where I heard that, but I just thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Plus, he looks like Jesus in Episode 2.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he's got the Jedi mullet.
Yeah, the Jedi mullet. Oh, my God. Yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Taylor? Man, I know who your character is, and I love the choice.
That's pretty easy. So my favorite Star Wars character of all time is definitely Luke Skywalker.
Of course.
Just because he's definitely the most relatable protagonist in all of Star Wars, really. I mean, he's one of the only characters, really, that you see, barring, one or two others, who really has an arc, He goes from Episode 4 to 5 to 6, and he's really a different character and matures all throughout. In 4, in A New Hope, he was kind of just like this whiny kid
farm boy
who wanted to do something better than what he had. Yeah. He didn't know really much anything about his past. He never knew he had a sister. He never knew he came from this, great lineage of Jedi.
Force sensitive.
Yeah, he didn't know he was force sensitive, and then basically made something of himself and joined the rebellion. Yeah. And I think that as soon as he takes a step in that direction is really when his character hits full bore, like, this is where the character is going. And it was just super inspirational. I know one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars really is the scene in A New Hope where he's just staring at the twin suns as the sunset beats down on him and the Force theme plays.
Yes.
And, I don't care who you are, where you come from, what walk of life you come from, I think anybody can really relate to that feeling of wanting to do something more than what they are and strive to be something great. And I think Luke kind of embodies that. And just so many great moments throughout the trilogy. I mean, you go into to Empire Strikes Back to where, he finally sums up the courage to fight Vader.
He's a little cocky.
Yeah, he's a little bit, he wants to take him down, but it's really to save his friends. And he's all about his friends, Leia and Han. Mm-hmm. And, you just see him go through such an arc, and then, Yoda definitely helps him along the way. And I just find that he's the most relatable character and the one that I think struck me most as a Star Wars fan. And I'm totally excited to see what they have planned for him in Episode 7.
Me too, especially since they're just covering it all up.
Yeah, they haven't shown anything of him yet, and it's just like, it's remained a mystery. And I know, come December 18th, and I'm sitting in that theater, and as soon as I see that beautiful bearded man, I'm gonna go fucking nuts.
I'll probably get that thing in my neck, in my throat.
I might tear up actually.
There'll be times probably a couple times in that movie.
Yeah,
it's done right.
I just can't wait to see it, man. So that's my favorite character. So we'll go ahead and move on to our third topic.
Can I throw something just really quickly?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
One of my favorite things about the connections between the prequels and the originals.
Yeah,
I love the part you were mentioning. Like, Luke wants to save his friends, and like it means a lot more now hearing from Yoda saying, you know, you can't always trust your visions of the future.
Yeah.
Because then you go back to episode 3 and Anakin is seeing Padme die in childbirth. And he made that happen.
Yeah.
He was thinking, I have to stop it.
Yeah.
But everything he did caused that.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, now when Yoda tells Luke that, you're like you know why he's saying that. Like, it doesn't, you could be making it happen, you know? And it's, I love those little connections, because like that's, he knows now. Because remember, he was telling Yoda, Anakin told Yoda, you know, I'm having visions of someone dying. You know, and like he actually made it true. So I always loved those.
And why Yoda didn't just be like, all right, dude, you're sitting down for a little bit. We're not letting you go anywhere.
Yeah, I know. Why didn't Yoda be like, wow, okay, this is like
you're fucked
bad.
Up, dude.
We need to like. If Anakin just would have talked to Obi-Wan or Yoda, they would have helped him.
See, that's the part.
He just needed to speak to him.
He needed a master. He didn't need a friend. He needed someone.
Well, if he just would have told Obi-Wan
like
everything, I feel, because remember that part he tells Padme, he's like, I'm not the Jedi I should be.
Yeah.
I want more, and I shouldn't. He should be telling that to Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
So Obi-Wan can help him. You know, but that's the thing. No, didn't communicate.
Did not communicate. No,
he just let it broil inside.
Yeah, it's just like that angsty teen thing, and I just like Obi-Wan. I feel like if he just taught him in a different way, there was a different,
or just would have realized all the problems.
I don't know why they would let Anakin be with Obi-Wan anyways. They wouldn't they give him like to a different master, be like you're gonna be training under this master instead of like the guy that rescued you. Now you have like this attachment to him,
emotional,
emotional attachment. You're like supposed to be emotionless, you know, the whole time. So I don't know. And then Obi-Wan was like freshly promoted after episode 1 from a Padawan to a knight.
And then by 3 he's a master.
Yeah, and immediately after being promoted, he gets a Padawan. And I was like, isn't that a little fast for like a knight? Shouldn't he kind of do a couple missions on his own?
But I think it all had to do with
he had to do the trials.
Qui-Gon's dying words were, you
Yeah.
train him. And I don't think like anyone could have stopped him, you know?
Yeah.
Because like that's what Qui-Gon was like, was just stubborn. Like,
your
boy will be trained.
Yeah.
You must be trained.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. You like right to Yoda and Mace. Like, I don't care what you say. The Maverick.
Exactly. Qui-Gon's one of my favorite characters too.
Just because he's leading.
I was between Qui-Gon and I was like Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan had more of an impact in the.
Sure.
I mean, but you can't like throw away what Qui-Gon did for Anakin, like to bring him into the fold. And that is just like if you just left that little desert boy out in Tatooine, none of the stuff would have happened.
Well, but I think it all would have happened if you didn't go find Anakin. Sidious still finds a way to take over and creates the Empire, and now you don't have Luke or Anakin.
Yeah, that's true.
And then the galaxy is doomed forever to be under the yoke of Imperial power, which is awesome. I love Imperial power. Anyway, go ahead.
Alrighty. So we'll go ahead and move on to our third topic. So I thought for the third topic was kind of one that we just kind of thought up off the cuff a little, and I thought we could relate it back to our channel since we're 0 HP and we're a little bit more gaming centric. We might go ahead and talk about our favorite Star Wars themed video games, and there's a ton to choose from.
We all have the same favorite, though.
Yeah.
I think we all have the same.
A couple. I mean, we have
a lot of the same favorites, but we'll share different ones too as well.
Yeah.
So, Ian, why don't you start us off again?
Well, we know. I think this is like I always have these answers like Empire Strikes Back and BioWare's masterpiece, my favorite video game in general of all time. It's my #1 spot. Is Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
They created an entire new world within Star Wars.
That twist is one of the greatest twists.
Don't let Alyssa hear. I'm playing it with Alyssa.
Oh my god!
We can talk about it. I'm playing it with Alyssa, so she doesn't know.
It's one of the greatest twists of all time in gaming history for me. I could not believe it.
Any story.
Any story twist. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I was like,
I was absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
I was like shaking.
I was
and that was also the first BioWare game with just that cast of characters. They're so good at creating this incredible. Like I had a crush on Bastila.
Yeah.
Like I had a legitimate heart thumping crush when I was a kid because I was like 12.
Yeah.
And I had like a real those like you get crushes on like celebrities and stuff. I had a crush on Bastila.
Anime characters.
Like I had a huge thing for Bastila, and I always loved the love story that you can have with her. It was so that's like when we're talking about bad love story. Really, it's easy to fuck it up.
Yeah.
And they did a great job with it. It was so believable. And she's a character that changes so much. She's just a bitch in the beginning. You're like,
oh yeah,
fuck this lady.
like why am I saving you?
Yeah, and then as you get to know her, you start to understand where she comes from, and then you meet Karth, and you meet
HK-47,
Zalbar, and like all these
So
just
many
wonderful
good
characters,
yeah.
and just a journey that.
Jolie Bindo.
Oh God, Jolie Bindo's amazing. God,
Yeah,
that Cathar, what was her name? Started with a J.
I know it's the girl that was the dark side. You had to go save her. In the
Oh,
she's kind of annoying, but she was a good character.
She's a good character.
I never really used her
she's
that
good.
much.
I didn't use her a lot either.
Oh, dude, Bastila is the only character you ever used. I mean, HK, for range.
Oh, HK-47. Plus, it was just great to hear his commentary and everything.
Yeah, I know, right?
Meatbags.
Meatbags.
Just a journey, like I'll never forget it, and I can pick it up and play it again. Like I don't care that it's old and the graphics are outdated. It's just. It's a master game. It's one of the only like 2 or 3 games I've ever given a 10.
So good.
If you like that, I will strongly suggest playing the Old Republic, the MMO. They've actually in recent months or a year or so, they've molded it more towards a single player story now instead of like an MMO. Okay. So there's a lot of content in there that I found that I love about this. Because it reminds me of the old Knights of the Old Republic. I'm like, oh man, this is so cool. I have a say in how this story ends because I'm making choices and stuff like that. So it so much reminds me.
I need to try. I really was like forcing it for a while. I probably played it for about 10, 12 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like it was very. I mean, that could just because it's an MMO.
Yeah.
I just felt it was like very like chore heavy. Like
They actually have made it
to run through all these like enemy laden.
They've made it more single player as the games go on too, because that game is pretty much dead in the water. Like nobody really plays it anymore.
Yeah.
So I think with the latest expansion they came out with, they made it like very like single player
oriented.
I'll have to really.
It's very very good. I would
still not canon really.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I thought that like that.
I think it is.
Old Republic
it's not.
Nothing.
I know Old Republic the game is not. I thought the MMO was.
Old Republic is still in the gray area.
I don't get that. Like, why? It's not going to affect. Just do it. Like, everyone loves it, and everyone just like. I feel like most big Star Wars fans who play those games are like, I don't care if you saw it's canon. It's canon. You know, like that's how I feel about it. Like, Revan is real. Goddammit.
Yeah.
Revan's one of the greatest Sith Lords of all time.
He really is.
It is really.
He's not a cackling bad guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. He's more of a deep character that you can empathize with. You're like, oh man, I can see his point of view. He's trying to save people, but he went about it the wrong way.
Right.
You know, and
it was that again. It was that vision of the future thing.
Yeah, and he fell into that trope of like he got hooked, and now he's just so. You know, and
then he redeems himself.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, he can redeem himself. Yeah. Oh, that's like the theme of this universe. Like, you're
never. And then Malik. Yeah. Malik is a really cool character.
He's a brilliant character.
Yeah, this is such a good antagonist.
Wipe this entire planet from the face of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Poor terrorists.
Yeah.
Wipe this pathetic planet from the face of the galaxy. Sorry, I forgot the word.
Begin the bombardment.
Begin the bombardment. I was gonna choose, of course, Knights of the Republic. It's one of my favorite games of all time too. But the second game, there's a few games. I want to shout out Pod Racer. There was a little Pod Racer.
N64, baby. Pod Racer was so fun.
Episode 2 Racer was better, but that's okay.
They were both over PS2.
Yeah,
they were both good.
Racer Revenge.
They were both really good.
For me, Battlefront, the first Battlefront.
Was
the first from Pandemic Studios.
Yeah.
I put so many hours into it. Like just. I didn't
one
even
or two.
One. I like the first one better. I like the first one better because it reminds me of.
I like them both.
I like them both too, but that's 2 had the space battles, which is I like that.
Yeah.
But like the first one, I put more time into, and the reason is because this was before I had internet, so I was playing by myself all the time, and I had so much fun playing against the AI.
Yeah.
And
this is the first time you get to play as a stormtrooper.
Yeah, you play stormtrooper, like clone trooper. You can play like a droid and do whatever you want. Like
you break the game with Maul.
Yeah, exactly.
It's basically a cheat code.
It was just like a meat grinder.
If you got Maul, it's like this shit's over.
Yeah. It's over.
You can't kill him.
But no, I loved it. I love the maps. I can just
I can
Cloud
see now.
City.
Those muddy graphics.
Oh my god,
so
they
great.
were so much fun. I had so many hours put into that game. And it was
split screen Galactic Conquest.
Oh, the Galactic! Oh my god! That was
my god!
That's one of the things missing from the new Battlefront that I wish they would have.
Yeah.
Like honestly,
there's a lot of content missing.
I love space battles, but honestly, like I could do without them. Like if you had a Galactic Conquest mode, I would have honestly been set.
Okay, yeah.
That's missing. It's missing quite.
It's missing a lot.
It's a great game, actually. We can talk about it later.
Yeah.
The first one by far is one of my favorite Star Wars games. I'm like,
I almost didn't even like.
Yeah.
We were talking about other games earlier, like trying to think of what we bring up here.
Yeah.
And like you said, Battlefront. I'm like, how the fuck did I not think about Battlefront?
Yeah, the
Such a
first
classic.
dude, so good.
I love them both.
Yeah, I love them both, but
like,
for me personally, I spent so much time on the first one. Yeah. I was like, I
did you have it on Xbox?
I had it on the Xbox? Yeah, I had the original Xbox. Yeah,
that big ass Bertha controller.
Yeah.
I'll hit the black and white button.
Oh yeah, God.
Way the fuck up here.
Yeah, that was such a good game for me. I loved it. I definitely enjoyed every bit of it. Just endless hours of playing.
Yeah, I played it shit tons of you.
So, what about you, Taylor? What's your favorite game?
So, to go along with
Knights
the
of the
theme,
Republic.
Knights of the Republic is probably my favorite one. But honestly,
there's a lot of great
if
ones.
I had to pick a close second, it had to be Republic Commando.
Yeah, I love Republic Commando.
That's one of the games too that I would clamor for and throw my money at if there was a sequel. But I think the studio that made it got dismantled and was bought up by somebody else, so we'll probably never see an actual sequel to it.
Plus, like Disney, won't touch
the
they won't touch
won't
the
do
prequel.
prequel
They won't touch
stuff,
the prequel to like a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
So even though I think they could try and redeem them, but
it's super unfortunate. But yeah, that was one of my favorite games. Delta Squad is like some of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they all had kind of personalities, even though they were clones. They were so cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Boss, Scorch, Fixer, and Sev.
That shit got dark in that game, man. It was not like a
especially that
happy-go-lucky game.
That ending is pretty emotional too.
It almost had like horror elements.
It did. Like there's
in the beginning,
maps where like you're dark, and then you had the little flashlight on
the Geonosians were like,
oh god,
yeah, it was so different.
No, that part when I think it's the second mission after the Battle of Geonosis, you play. And you have to go to a downed clone Star Destroyer, like the pre-Star Destroyer ones.
Yeah.
And it's all dark, and the Trandoshans have invaded it, and you have to fucking go in there and save all your dudes. There are those weird, like head crab kind of things that are like killing the clones. It definitely had cool like horror elements.
Yeah, it was very mature game. Like
that. Remember that little blade that came out of your hand?
Yeah,
the
HUD for that time. Yeah. Remember the HUD with you were inside a clone helmet with like the HUD, and it was like the vision. Like you never seen it wipe the blood off. You never seen anything like that at that time. Like that. Like,
was
the original. I had an original Xbox.
Such a good game.
That was a great generation of games. Actually,
it was.
Yeah, other games I would want to just throw in there. Jedi Academy.
You got me. Yes.
I love Jedi
bring that up
Academy.
next. Create your own character.
Yeah, create your own Jedi and just like run around. It's like the game that gave you like the first time you ever see parkour and everything. Like you run on the walls with your force and everything. Yeah. And like jump up in the sky. And
like
so
the lightsaber battles, like they were like actual. You know,
like
your lightsabers would make contact, and you're like parrying, and before you finally kill them, and you could like choke them and stuff.
Lightning. And
like dark side, light side choices. And it was like a follow up to episode 6.
Yeah, it was.
Well, now it doesn't count anymore. But and that game, Jedi Academy, was actually like a sequel to. I think it was like Jedi Outcast with Kyle Katarn.
Yeah,
he was a cool character.
Kyle Katarn was a cool character.
It was a lot of fun to play those. I really enjoyed the first Force Unleashed.
Yeah,
Force Unleashed is great.
Just because of the big story thing where it's like you find out that, and this does not count anymore, which I'm really disappointed with. But obviously it's cool to be like the secret of Princess Vader, but at the very end you find out that like that Sidious and Vader used Galen, the main character, Starkiller, but Galen, as a tool to create rebels.
Yeah.
So they could get all of the rebel people, like the most influential people who wanted to rebel against the Empire into one place and kill them all. And then that plan backfired, and they created the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah.
Like that was brilliant. But now it's all gone.
Yeah.
It's too bad. And the second one sucked. It was like 2 hours long.
What?
I beat it in like I rented it in the night, and I beat it in like I sat on the couch and beat it. I was like, what the hell is that? I'm really glad I didn't buy that game at $50 or $60.
Dude, that one scene from the first one where you're like controlling the Star Destroyer.
Yeah,
that was one of the coolest scenes ever. You're like force pushing. I'm like, holy shit, Starkiller's a fucking badass.
Yeah, you're hunting down the Jedi. Yeah. It was really like, and then of course
the cool like costumes you can get to and the different lightsaber colors.
Yes, and like lifting the stormtrooper up in the air and then throwing a saber into his chest. Like, it's just cool moments.
I just thought of something like since Taylor said the costumes and the lightsabers. I just want to throw out one of my favorite characters as well is Grievous. I love Grievous.
Yeah,
Grievous was so
another tragic story.
Yeah, another very tragic story. But I love the fact that he wasn't like trained in the force or anything like that, but he was still a swordsman, you know. And he
warrior,
like, I like the fact that he
Hunter,
he collected trophies from like. I was
The
like, that's
lightsabers
so
is
morbid,
He's a
but
cool
so
character.
cool.
Yeah.
I was like, he's just like 4 lightsabers, and he's like, look all your
I
debts.
will add them to my collection.
Yeah.
My little nephew, a very quick, very funny little story. My little nephew, when he was little, he's like 13 now, but when he was like 6 or 7, he would walk around with his arms up, like hunched over, and he would start doing that cough, and he would like so into the impersonation, he would actually make himself cough.
Yeah.
And he's all, and I'm like, whoa, dude. Like, hold on, man. Don't die. It was just great. Like, it's just Star Wars, how it affects kids, you know?
The first time when he opened all 4 arms, I'm like, oh my god. And then I was like, holy shit, how are you going to fight 4 lightsabers?
Yeah, Obi-Wan does it, man. That's why
he's a badass, man. But yeah, that motorbike thing that he had, the little big, I was like, oh, that's so cool.
And Obi-Wan's riding on
Dude, yeah, there's a lot of cool scenes in the prequels that I like. I don't hate them like a lot of people, like hardcore Star Wars fans. Like some people just
like I said, I don't hate them. I'm just disappointed in them.
Yeah. A lot of people actually they're not as casual as you. They hate them. Like I'm like they have redeeming qualities about it. They have great scenes. You know, it's partially that's what I grew up seeing in theaters. You know, like I grew up. I'm like
99.
I'm a kid. I'm watching. This is amazing. Yeah. Like you know. And then later on, I saw the sequels.
Now that you can watch all 6 in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when you watch 1 through 3 and then 4 through 6, you're like, wow.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge difference.
Woo! 4 through 6 are a lot like better just films in general. But I feel like if you truly like love Star Wars, you shouldn't throw the prequels out. You just like we were saying earlier in our Halo review, like you just. If you love something, you should be critical of it. You shouldn't, like, on the opposite end of everyone hating it, I don't think you should just fucking love it and say, no, there's nothing wrong with them. They're perfect.
No, exactly.
Like, there's people like that, too. It's like, there's a lot wrong with them. Like, come on. You know, you can still love them. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just know, like, you know, don't act like they're just perfect. You know, that's how I've always felt about that.
Me too.
Just be open about, what they really are. But Shadows of the Empire, really quickly.
Yeah.
Great.
Little kid growing up in the 90s. N64. Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. Like, just when I hear that music, that opening music, I just...
Dash Rendar, the discount Han Solo. He really was. I mean, let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah. And he had, like, a very, like, millennium... He had another Corellian freighter.
Yeah,
like, just looking, like, really similar to it.
Exactly.
But it's had so many, like, brilliant moments in it where, like, you know, it starts with the Battle of Hoth, and then when you escape, you do the whole, like, asteroid turret mission, fighting the turrets with the TIE fighters, and it has that like, classic, that song.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, it's just, there's a lot of just very, like, memorable scenes from that game.
A lot of games, game series that I really liked as well was Jedi Starfighter.
I played that. The original Xbox.
Yeah, Jedi Starfighter, and then there was another one before it. I think it was just called Star Wars Starfighter.
Yeah.
But those games were awesome. I mean, one of my
there was like Naboo Starfighter.
Naboo. No, I think it was just called Starfighter, but it did have
playing. You were like, I remember you like escorting one of those Nubian.
And I remember Nubian. But anyway, so and there was a really cool character in those games too that I kind of wish was canon, but obviously not anymore. Was Nim. I always thought he was a really cool character. I forget what his race was. Well, it's not really canon anymore. But anyway, he was a really cool character. I thought he was like this mercenary guy who was like all in it for the money. And the rebels commissioned him to like do all these missions for them, and he's like, I'm all about the money, and he's like this rough and tumble old man. And I always thought he was one of the coolest Star Wars characters, and he's got a really cool history actually outside of those games too. They made a couple expanded universe novels about him and comics. Really cool character. I wish he was canon.
Just a little shout out to Nim.
Nim
You're real in my heart.
Nim is awesome, man. That blue Davy Jones looking bastard. He's awesome. I love him.
Yeah. So that's a great all great games, man. I enjoyed them all. Like, dude, nostalgia. Just every time we name them a Star Wars game, I was like, I wish
Star Wars in general is like just like tangible nostalgia.
Yeah. I'm so glad that they're making new movies too. Like nothing makes me more happier than seeing another set of movies and knowing that there's more coming, and there's so much more to come. You know, we have the saga films with 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, they're gonna like in between. Yeah.
And we'll have anthology films with Han Solo and Rogue One, and then hopefully an Obi-Wan standalone at some point with Ewan McGregor coming back to reprise his role, which also would be a really cool way to bring back Darth Maul.
Oh yeah, because that would be that's a good point. I like
Maul
that.
comes to get vengeance.
Yeah.
So I have to watch him die again.
Probably.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, that's a good wrap, you guys. I'm very looking forward to seeing the new Star Wars and maybe some more future games coming out for it.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Amy Hennig, the writer of
Oh,
Uncharted and Last of
gosh.
Us, is working on a Star Wars project.
Yeah.
So
That'd be awesome.
It can be a great story, I'm sure.
Alrighty, guys.
Take us out, Taylor.
Yeah, so this is where we'll go ahead and wrap up. Thank you guys so much for listening. I just kind of want to put a call to action out there for any of you guys who are listening. Let us know what you think about what we were saying. What are some of your favorite characters? What's your favorite movie in the trilogy? I'd like to get the discussion going, so leave us a comment wherever necessary. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube comments in general. Yeah, just go ahead and leave them for us. I'd really like to get a discussion going, and we can go ahead and respond to that. But other than that, that has been episode 2 of the Holocron. Join us. We're going to have to maybe get a little more consistent of an upload schedule. It's been kind of hard to get us all together in one spot. So maybe I'll have to do a solo one at some point. But it's really fun. I think we all like doing it. So new episodes out in the future, hopefully.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Alrighty. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Peace.